Okay, let's paint a picture. Imagine a 12-year-old girl. She's safe at home. Maybe her mom's even tracking her on GPS. But she's spending way more time glued to that glowing screen, crafting her online self, than actually talking face to face.
It's a really powerful image, and it leads straight to this huge question: what is happening to childhood?
Exactly. And that's the core of this deep dive, right? We're looking at Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation.
That's right. His big idea is that childhood got fundamentally, well, rewired somewhere around 2010.
And the result he points to is pretty alarming.
Oh, absolutely. A huge, undeniable spike in anxiety, depression, self-harm, especially hitting teenage girls hard since that time. Haidt's book is kind of like a siren warning us, but also maybe a roadmap showing a path out.
A roadmap. I like that. So this rewiring, what does Haidt say, actually caused it? What was the big shift? Because honestly, that idea of kids just playing outside, unsupervised, scraped knees and all, it feels like a different era now.
Well, he argues the shift was exactly that. From a childhood based in the physical world, real-world play, to one dominated by the phone. And he introduces this concept he calls a two-headed monster that's sort of at the heart of it all.
Okay, a two-headed monster. Intriguing. What's the first head?
The first head is what he calls digital underparenting. Basically, kids navigating this massive, often totally unfiltered internet without enough guidance, without real supervision, like leaving them alone in a digital Wild West.
Okay, unsupervised online. But you said two heads. There's a flip side.
Exactly. That's the paradox. The other head is real-world overparenting. So at the same time, parents are letting kids roam free online. They're excessively shielding them offline, bubble wrapping them from any physical risk, tracking their every move.
Wow. So hypervigilant in the physical world, but kind of hands-off digitally.
Yeah, that really makes you think.
It's a stark contradiction, and Haidt's got the background for this. He's the social psychologist who wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. So he's been thinking about these shifts for a while. All right, I remember that book. And this new one, The Anxious Generation, it hit the New York Times bestseller list instantly when it came out, March 26, 2024. So this isn't just off-the-cuff observation.
No, it's deeply researched. He really digs into the data.
Now, speaking of data,
Yeah.
it can sometimes feel a bit dry, right?
Yeah.
But I gather Haidt uses something else to make it really land. Archetypes, almost like characters.
Yes, exactly. And that's what makes the book so powerful, I think. He uses these characters, important to stress. They aren't real people, but archetypes built from tons of research and interviews. They make the statistics feel human. You can actually see the trends playing out.
Okay, so let's meet them. Who's the first one?
Let's start with Ava. She's 14, and she's the archetype of the scroller. Haidt describes her getting Instagram right around puberty. And for Ava, he says, likes feel like oxygen, silence feels like suffocation.
Wow, oxygen. That's intense.
It is, and Haidt digs into the neuroscience. Those likes, they're not just points. They act as intermittent rewards, hijacking the brain's dopamine circuits, the pleasure and motivation system. It's not just a feeling. It's actually rewiring the brain to crave that validation, driving this constant social comparison.
That dopamine hit. And he specifically mentions it hits girls harder. Why is that?
Yeah, he argues that for girls, social media, especially visual platforms like Instagram, taps into and massively amplifies existing tendencies towards comparing appearances, social status, popularity. It creates this relentless, often really distorted feedback loop.
Okay, that makes sense. So the platform design interacts with maybe some pre-existing vulnerabilities. What about boys then? Is their experience different?
It often is. Which brings us to Dylan, the 16-year-old gamer archetype.
Okay, Dylan the gamer. How's his world look?
Dylan is super connected online, maybe coordinating with teammates across the globe in complex games, but physically, he's isolated, often alone in his bedroom for hours.
Connected yet isolated.
Right. And Haidt suggests that while boys gravitate to this competitive online play, and yeah, maybe they develop some skills there, this intense focus can lead them to pull back from real-life risk-taking.
Real-life risk-taking? Like what?
Like navigating tricky social situations face-to-face, learning from minor failures, developing independence away from the screen. Haidt argues that over-immersion in the game world can actually stunt the development of real-world autonomy. They master the virtual, but maybe at the expense of the actual.
But surely there are some positives to those online communities. Teamwork, strategy. Does Haidt just dismiss that?
He doesn't completely dismiss it, no. He acknowledges some skills can be built. But his main point is about the displacement. It's about what isn't happening when kids spend, 6, 8, 10 hours a day gaming. It pushes out the essential real-world stuff needed for emotional regulation, resilience, face-to-face skills. The balance is off.
Okay, it's about the opportunity cost, basically, what gets lost.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into the parent archetype, Mr. Alvarez, the safety-first parent. This is where that paradox you mentioned really comes into focus.
Right, the GPS tracking, but TikTok babysitting.
Exactly. Mr. Alvarez is meticulously tracking his son's physical location, worried about real-world dangers. But then, maybe without even fully realizing it, he lets TikTok's algorithm curate hours of his son's mental input.
So Haidt calls this safetyism turned inside out.
Yeah, it's this cultural anxiety about physical safety, which is understandable, of course, leading to this intense monitoring of the physical world. But that same level of vigilance just isn't applied to the digital world. We end up over-policing the playground, but under-policing the phone.
It's such a blind spot, isn't it? But maybe parents are just overwhelmed, trying their best with something totally new. Is Haidt blaming parents?
I don't think his tone is blaming at all. It's more explanatory. He's showing how societal fears, combined with the rapid rise of these powerful platforms, created the situation almost inadvertently. It's less about individual failing and more about a collective cultural blind spot where we've kind of outsourced our kids' digital lives without fully grasping the consequences.
Okay. And that brings us to the platforms themselves, or rather, the driving force behind them, the algorithm. Haidt treats it almost like the fourth character here.
Yeah, it's this unseen but incredibly powerful force. Its goal isn't the child's well-being. Its goal is engagement. Maximize eyeballs, maximize time on site.
And how does it do that?
Well, often by feeding us content that triggers strong emotions, conflict, envy, outrage. These things grab attention. And Haidt's view is really nuanced here. He doesn't paint the algorithm as, like, this evil villain plotting against kids.
Okay, then what is it?
He calls it an amoral amplifier. It doesn't have morals. It just magnifies whatever keeps us hooked. And the scary part is, we've invited this amplifier into our kids' bedrooms, into their pockets, with basically no rules, no curfew. We often have very little idea what it's actually feeding them.
An amoral amplifier with no curfew. That's killing, actually. So pulling this all together, the research, these archetypes, the two-headed monster, why is this book resonating so much? Why should you, listening right now, really care about this deep dive into Haidt's work?
Well, I think the book has some major strengths that make it really compelling. First, it's what you might call data with a pulse. Haidt doesn't just throw charts at you. Every statistic is paired with a story, an example, making it stick. It makes the research accessible, memorable.
It connects the head and the heart, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay.
And second, it's not just U.S.-centric. He uses a global lens. He compares trends in the U.S., U.K., Australia, the Nordics.
And finds similar patterns.
Finds remarkably similar patterns. The spikes in teen mental health issues track pretty closely with widespread smartphone adoption across all these different cultures. That really drives home that this isn't just, one country's problem. It's systemic.
Okay, global data, human stories. What else? Does he offer solutions? Because just hearing the problems can feel overwhelming.
Yes. And this is crucial. It's an action toolkit. The book isn't just diagnosing the illness, it's offering concrete steps, real practical things for parents, like sample phone contracts or scripts for delaying the first smartphone.
Okay, practical tips for parents. What about schools, governments?
Yep, he has clear arguments for schools, think phone-free policies, rethinking homework, and he even outlines legislative ideas for governments, like age verification. It really aims to be a handbook, not just a hand-wringer. You feel like there are things that can be done.
That's a relief, so it's not just doom and gloom.
Not at all. Yeah. And his overall tone is really balanced. He's not saying smash your smartphones. It's not extreme. He's advocating for delaying tech access for younger kids, guiding older kids more intentionally. And this is key, actively reviving free, unstructured, real-world play. It's about restoring balance.
Okay, so who really needs to hear this? If you're listening, why is this specifically relevant to you?
Well, if you're a parent of kids anywhere from, say, 8 to 18, this is gold. You get insights into what's appropriate when, developmentally, practical tools, like we said, even just the confidence to say not yet, to the smartphone pressure.
Right, and if you're in education, a teacher, an administrator.
Huge implications. This research directly informs debates about phone lockers, recess time, homework loads. It gives you solid ground for making policy choices that support student well-being.
What about people on the front lines of mental health? Therapists, pediatricians.
For them, it offers really valuable etiology clues, insights into the causes, the roots of the anxiety and depression spikes they're likely seeing every day. It helps frame the problem systemically.
And what if you are Gen Z?
Mm.
Or even Gen Alpha, the kids growing up in this?
Then this might feel like someone is finally putting words to your experience. If you've ever felt that weird push-pull with social media, like it's both comfort food and poison, as Haidt puts it, this offers a framework to understand why. It's like holding up a mirror.
Makes sense. And finally, tech folks, policymakers.
For them, Haidt provides tangible starting points. Case studies on age verification laws that are working, ideas for design changes. It's constructive, not just critical. It offers building blocks for positive change.
For me, honestly, going through Haidt's work, it felt like taking all these scattered worries I had about kids and screens and finally seeing them connect into a clear map. You can see the whole picture of the forest, not just the trees. And crucially, you start to see the paths out.
Yeah, that shift from just feeling vaguely uneasy to actually understanding the dynamics, it's really empowering.
It absolutely is. So as we wrap up, maybe a few things to chew on for you, the listener. First off, at what age do you personally think a child should get a smartphone? There's no single right answer, but it's worth considering your own line.
And another one. Banning phones in schools. Is that realistic? Is it effective? Or does it maybe feel a bit too controlling, too paternalistic? Where's the balance there?
Good question. And maybe the biggest one, tying it all together. If Haidt's right, if childhood is now over-supervised offline and under-supervised online, what steps can we, you, me, all of us actually take to start flipping that script? How do we bring back some of that real-world freedom and maybe introduce more guidance to the digital world?
Those are definitely the big questions Haidt leaves us with.
They really are. If this deep dive sparked some thoughts for you, feel free to share them. Maybe connect with others discussing this online.
Yeah, keep the conversation going.
And maybe, just maybe, consider listening to your next deep dive or just spending some time completely away from your phone. A little reminder of what that focused, unplugged attention feels like.